So before we get started, I think I should answer the question that I'm sure you are all wondering right now. Andrea Rondo, the teacher, would. Anyways, on to the actual episode's discussion. So, this week, we're talking about Shadowverse Flame episodes 56 through 58. Okay, a lot of 55 is going to be in here because I didn't really get to that last time, and that was intentional. There was already enough to talk about with what we had, and also since that one was a two-parter, well, it makes sense to talk about them together. So that is what we are here to do today. And this two-parter was really good. I really liked this. I know I say that a lot with this show, but there's a reason for that. It's good. So effectively, what this two episodes is Tsubasa's rematch with Rondo, who is the member of the Seven Shadows, who was kept a secret from us, and by kept a secret, it was really fucking obvious. And if anyone out there didn't find it out, we need to have a serious talk about how you take in fiction. I kid, of course. Or do I? Anyways, so yeah, Tsubasa goes in for round 2 against the teacher, and something I really like about the way they show off the teacher is that they never really make her out to seem like this all-powerful, unbeatable, unstoppable mountain of a force. She's kind of always made out to seem like this very sad, miserable, depressed human being, which I really enjoy. Now, don't get me wrong, when it's time for her to look cool, she can look cool. But there's very clearly intelligent direction going on here, and every time she is shown looking badass with, like, the all-white glasses and with, like, the weird insect legs behind her and all this crazy shit, they always make sure that the next shot is always just those depressed eyes and that kind of, like, lack of movement and posture, and just all these little things to remind you that her being strong at Shadowverse means nothing. It means nothing to her, and it means nothing to us. What is important here is that this is a woman who has lived a life so miserable, so depressing, that it's just easier for her to not care or feel anything, no matter what good or bad things she now has in her life. And that's what makes her such a perfect contrast to Tsubasa, because, and again, they do directly say this, but Tsubasa was going down this path. This is where she was going if she didn't run into Light and the others, and they were able to bring them back. She knew that feeling of watching your world crumble around you because you are powerless to do something about it. And she was unempathetic. She didn't care. She just kind of wanted to get through school and get through life with the minimal amount of effort and the minimal amount of caring, but meeting people who were willing to talk to her and interact with her and empathize with her allowed for her to grow and heal and get better from it. And so when she then recognizes this in someone else, someone she's supposed to look towards a mentor figure, she's kind of in a weird way fascinated by this, but also in a very realistic way, wanting to understand what happens if she falls off the path again, if everything ends up being for nothing and she returns to that world of despair. Similar to the theme we see with, why am I blanking on Rabbit Girl's name, even though I bring her up like all the fucking time. Similar with that character and a couple others, there's always that idea that, and this very realistic approach of your baggage, your drama, what you've been through, your pain in life, it doesn't just go away because you have made a breakthrough. Shion! I feel really bad I couldn't remember Shion's name for a minute, but that idea that it doesn't go away, but you will always grow and adapt and learn to live with it. And when you think that it's gone, that's when it can hit you the hardest and put you back into that. Tsubasa, maybe from seeing it with Shion, wants to understand this so she can be better for it later. So that is why she takes an interest in the teacher and chooses to fight her again and again, knowing full well it may feel futile, but she's got to keep trying, just like Light did and just like everyone else keeps doing. Now that we've gotten this far, it's probably about time we talk about said teacher's backstory. And yeah, there is a lot of like standardness to it. And what's sort of interesting is a lot of the dialogue in these two episodes feels very much in line with what we were seeing and didn't like in the original show. The talk about wanting to save the world, the talk about wanting salvation, all of this and that, and that's very common in bad shows. But what makes this a good show is the focus isn't necessarily on the literal aspect of we are going to save or change the world. It's on the idea that the mother had this ideal she was striving towards, this light, this goal, and that's what inspired Rhonda when she was little. And then when the mother had it just taken away because just bullshit and lost everything, we saw how it destroyed her and she never recovered. And in turn, Rhonda, who did everything she could to bring her family's life back together, couldn't do it. And that's what destroyed her. Again, I think that's something that is very realistic and could actually happen. I also like the fact they don't spoon feed you everything. Like, all we need to see to know where this woman's life went after her mother fell apart is that one shot of the light leaving her eyes and that shot of her just sitting there in the destroyed research. The idea that she kept going and it was never enough and it just took the light from her. It's genuinely emotional and heartbreaking, and you can see how it can go to, but you also see how this gives Tsubasa the desire to want to reach out and to help her. It's that idea that for Tsubasa, wanting to believe she can help this woman and get her back to a happy state again is her saying to herself, she is getting better and she can heal and she can continue to get better as a person as well. It's a really nice emotional story, and I really want to see where this is going. As for the question of will Rhonda be the villain, as that's sort of what they're kind of alluding to at the end, that she's got ulterior motives and the pink-haired girl wants to work with her because she likes bad guys, I'm going to take the obvious assumption that no, she will not be the main villain. I feel like it's so on the nose and so obvious, it has to be a misdirect. And if it isn't, it's really not that interesting because I mostly just want to see her continue to have an emotional journey with Tsubasa. And again, like I said, it just feels like way too fucking obvious. Also, above all else, if we're taking the cynical approach, her and pink-haired girl are marketable waifus. And as we've seen with our main three girls, this show likes waifus. And I do not think we'll take the opportunity to give up on a couple. Side note, the current ED, which is another ED just to show off said waifus. I think I liked the first version better from the first episode where it's just the buddies dancing. Namely Wingy. Wingy is best buddy. I love you, Wingy. But anyways, then we move on. God, we really took a long time on those two episodes. We move on to the current sort of episodes that just happened, and I totally am not looking up the name of that character in front of me because he's kind of hard to remember because he's not in it a lot. He's facing, what's that guy's name again? Fuck, he was like in the beginning of the show, and then he like disappeared because we had a much better show than anything he would have been a part of, and now he's back. Okay, Wolfrin Zerga, that's a fucking name, versus Ryoga. Geez, if I had a dime for every time there was a bully rival-esque character in a card game anime named Ryoga, I'd have 2 dimes, which isn't a lot, but it's weird having twice. Yeah, I did the Phineas and Ferb thing. Anyways, so, yeah, just to go over this one real quick, because there's not a ton to say here. Not that it's bad, but effectively you have a role reversal from the previous fight. You have Wolfman, who senses something in Ryoga like a kindred spirit, also being this kid from a troubled past and home life and backstory, and wanting to sort of help him and kind of move him forward, and that's why he chose to fight him and have this kind of like mini rivalry as a way to push him the way he was pushed to better himself. However, Ryoga is not that kind of a person. I like that idea of showing that just because there is an obvious way to help somebody doesn't mean it's the right way or it's going to work. Everyone reacts to things differently and needs to be therefore helped and guided in their own unique way. Having the one-size-fits-all approach of, I'll beat you at Shadowverse and that will inspire you to get better and want to be like me and become a better person might work on some people, like they have on a lot of our characters, but it's not going to work on everybody, namely someone who is just this far deep in his own world of just anger and probably self-pity and despair, it's going to take something much different. And in this guy's case, it does take being stubborn. It takes kind of moving forward and pushing and doing things his own unique way. And I kind of like the way the show emphasizes that. I can't really keep going because we're running out of episodes, but I really think it's a neat idea and a really good way to use a character who, let's be honest, he's nobody's favorite character in the show just because he's not in it a lot. It's kind of hard to think of too much to talk about when it's two characters who, like I said, just aren't in it a lot. But what are your thoughts on these 3-4 episodes of Shadowverse? Obviously, we spent a lot more time talking about one over the other. Give me your thoughts about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next time as we see where this journey will take us next.